Every single human body follows a blueprint. Same bones, same organs, same rules. But every now and then, nature picks a person and rewrites the manual entirely. Some of these people were born into it. Others had no warning. A few were worshipped, some were mocked, most were misunderstood. And every single one of them had to decide, hide from the world or own it. 20 people, 20 bodies that broke the rules. And the stories behind them are stranger and more powerful than anything you've seen on this channel. Number 20. Rizikat, Aziz, the woman with ocean eyes in a land of brown. In Nigeria, beauty is dark and deep. Brown eyes are universal, the color of the earth, of belonging. Then there's Rizikat Aziz. Look into her face and you don't see brown, you see the sea. Two piercing pools of blue staring back at you from the heart of West Africa. No contacts, no tricks, no surgery. Just genetics rewriting the rules in a country where blue eyes belong only to the sky. For 34 years, Rizikat has walked the crowded streets of Ilorin, Kwara State, turning heads and drawing stares that never get comfortable. Here's the twist. Neither of her parents had blue eyes. Not one grandparent. No explanation in her family tree. It appeared out of nowhere, a mutation so rare that doctors struggled to categorize it. To some, it's beauty. To others, in rural communities where superstition still runs deep, it's something darker. Whispers of evil powers, omens, something not quite human. But Rizikat doesn't flinch. She insists her vision is sharp, her life ordinary, and her spirit unmovable. And then came the detail that silenced everyone. Both of her children were born with the same ocean-colored eyes. What began as a single anomaly has become a lineage. Blue eyes in a brown-eyed world. Number 19. Taylor Clement, the woman who never smiled. What if you lived your whole life without ever knowing what it feels like to smile? Not metaphorically, literally, physically impossible. That's Taylor Clement's reality. Born in New Zealand with Mobius syndrome, a rare neurological condition that left her facial nerves completely underdeveloped, Taylor entered the world frozen. No grin, no smirk, not even a flicker at the corner of her lips. The muscles responsible for expression simply never developed. And the damage didn't stop at smiling. Eye movement was limited. Speech was slurred. Eating was a daily battle. As a child, she became a target, laughed at, bullied, isolated. At 11 years old, she pinned everything on a 9-hour surgery. Surgeons would transplant tissue from her thigh into her face, a procedure with massive risk but the promise of a first smile. She woke up, looked in the mirror. Nothing had changed. Seizures followed, then depression. Social anxiety consumed the years after. But Taylor didn't stay in the dark. Sports became her lifeline, then a camera. She turned it toward rugby and motorsports, and started creating content. Today she interviews athletes, builds platforms, and shows a watching world that strength isn't measured in facial expressions. You don't need to smile to light up a room. Sometimes, surviving is the brightest thing you can do. Number 18. Kirsten Riggs, the cheerleader whose body betrayed her. At 18, Kirsten Riggs had it all planned out. Varsity cheerleader, scholarship hopes, a future built on discipline and performance. Then her balance disappeared, and it never came back. On a family vacation, her sister Lauren stumbled through a routine balance test. The diagnosis was Friedreich's ataxia, a rare, progressive neurological condition that dismantles muscle coordination piece by piece. There's no cure, no reversal, just management and decline. Kirsten watched her sister receive the news. 2 weeks later, her own blood test came back positive. Both sisters, same fate. The cheerleading dreams ended that day. FA doesn't care about plans. It strips away the ability to walk steadily, to speak clearly, to hold things without trembling. Her unsteady walk, her slurred speech. Strangers assumed she was drunk. They sneered, they filmed her and laughed. Instead of retreating, Kirsten turned the camera on herself. She began speaking publicly about FA, forcing awareness into spaces that had never heard of it. Because for Kirsten, survival isn't about pity. It's about proving that even in a body that betrays you, strength can still roar louder than doubt. Number 17. Kawana Dandara, the face they mocked, the platform they couldn't ignore. They called her ape-like. From birth, her features stunned doctors. Excessive hair across her body, paper-thin skin, outward-turned eyelids that left her visually impaired from her first breath. A face that didn't fit any category the medical world had a clear name for. Born in Brazil, a country where beauty is currency and perfection is the standard, Kawana Dandara never had a chance to blend in. She spent months in hospital as a newborn, survival uncertain. Multiple surgeries on her eyelids gave her some vision. Childhood brought bullying, isolation, and she was openly in a culture that pushed back hard on every front she occupied. It could have broken her. It didn't. During the pandemic, Kawana found TikTok. Videos that started as self-expression exploded. Nearly 500,000 followers, posts racking up more than 7 million views. The girl mocked for her face became a face people couldn't ignore. Today, she's an advocate for rare genetic conditions, for the LGBTQ+ community, for anyone who has ever felt like they don't belong in their own body. What they used to shame her became the thing that made her unstoppable. Number 16. Carly Runke, 3 feet tall, takes up every room. At first glance, you'd swear she's a child. She stands just 3 feet tall, but Carly Runke isn't a child, and the moment she opens her mouth, you know it. Born with Morquio syndrome type A, a rare genetic disorder that twists bones, halts growth, and strips away independence. Carly is an outlier even within a condition that produces outliers. She's shorter than most people with the same diagnosis, but where her body stops, her presence begins. Childhood wasn't easy. A world that barely accommodates average-sized people gave Carly even less. She was teased, reduced to a punchline. Her brother Ed became her shield, standing up when the world tried to push her down. Carly didn't fold. She strode the Little People of America catwalk. She took up roles as a charity ambassador. She turned stages into platforms and setbacks into statements. She doesn't need height to stand tall. And sometimes strength isn't measured in inches. It's carved into the very body that carries it. Number 15. Lyudmila, the 7-inch neck and the girl who learned to love it. 7 inches. That's the length of Lyudmila's neck. When she steps into a room, silence follows. Born in Sevastopol, Crimea with Marfan syndrome, a genetic disorder that reshapes the body before you even understand it, Lyudmila's growth began earlier and stretched further than anyone around her. By 14, she stood at 6'5", her spine fragile, her limbs elongated. Childhood was a hospital, 3 or more visits a year, doctors scanning everything trying to stay one step ahead of complications. And all the while, Lyudmila fought a different enemy, the mirror. But at 16, something shifted. She realized she'd spent too much time being ashamed of something she couldn't change. That moment split her life in two. Instead of shrinking, she expanded. She embraced her height, her long neck, her difference. She stopped hiding, and the world had to adjust. What once made her feel like a misfit became her weapon. Number 14. Grace, the ticking time bomb with a beating heart. Every heartbeat could be her last. That's not a metaphor. That's Grace's medical reality. At 9 years old, her growth became alarming, limbs stretching too fast. Doctors diagnosed Marfan syndrome. But the most dangerous part of her condition wasn't visible. Grace's aorta, the main artery carrying blood from her heart, was swollen and stretched thin like glass under pressure. It could rupture without warning, any day, any moment. Life since then has been a calculation. Endless checkups, daily medication, strict diets, every physical activity a risk assessment. And yet, Grace chose purpose over fear. She became an ambassador for the Marfan Foundation, speaking publicly, forcing awareness into rooms that have never had to think about it. Resilience isn't the absence of fear. It's the decision to live in spite of it. And sometimes, survival itself is the loudest form of defiance. Number 13. Vivian Wheeler, the woman with the longest beard in the world. As a baby, Vivian Wheeler's mother noticed something unusual. Hair, more than expected, covering her face and body. They assumed it would fade with age. It never did. By childhood, thick coarse hair grew along her chin and jawline, a full beard developing on a little girl's face. The condition was congenital hypertrichosis, sometimes called werewolf syndrome, a rare genetic mutation causing excessive growth of terminal hair. Purely genetic. No permanent treatment existed. Shaving twice a day offered only hours of relief. Classmates teased her. Neighbors whispered. She covered her face and spent years in isolation. But Vivian made a decision. She could either hide forever or accept the hair as part of her identity. Slowly, she chose acceptance. Her beard grew to 10.14 inches, enough for Guinness World Records to officially crown her the woman with the longest beard in the world. The same feature that once drove her into hiding became the one that put her in the record books. Number 12. Lakshmi, the baby India, worshipped as a god. In 2015, a baby was born in Aligarh, a small town in Uttar Pradesh, India. Then they saw her face. Between her eyes, a small trunk-like growth split her nose in two, unmistakably resembling an elephant's trunk. Villagers immediately declared that a goddess had arrived. They called her Lakshmi, meaning goddess of wealth and prosperity, and some called her Lord Ganpatni, wife of the Hindu deity Ganesha. People traveled to see her. They made offerings. They knelt. Doctors explained the growth as a rare genetic mutation, possibly worsened by malnutrition during pregnancy. Without surgery, Lakshmi could struggle to breathe and speak as she grew. At 8 months old, she underwent an operation to remove the excess tissue. The surgery transformed her appearance, but left her with the visible mark of 2 noses where one once grew. Despite every medical explanation, the villagers continued to revere her. Science explained what happened, but it couldn't explain what it meant to the people who saw her. Number 11. Vienna Wurstel. She spent $175,000 to build a face the world can't look away from. 25 years old, a content creator from Mallorca, Spain, and her lips are so inflated they look like they're competing for a world record. Vienna's story starts at 18, when she stepped into the transgender world with one goal: to be bigger. Bigger lips, bigger curves, bigger presence. To her, it was the ultimate expression of femininity and self. Over the years, she poured $175,000 into reshaping herself. $50,000 on lip fillers alone. The result? A face that physically cannot fully close its mouth. Lips so inflated that breathing through her nose is nearly impossible. Every 2 weeks, she boards a plane from Mallorca to Frankfurt, Germany, $2,000 per trip, just to maintain the inflation. Pain, discomfort, sore throats, chronic congestion, none of it matters. She says she has no regrets. In fact, she's already planning to go even bigger. Is Vienna rewriting the rules of beauty, or is she trapped inside an obsession that will never let her go? Number 10. Tanya Herbert. Feet larger than a laptop. From the moment Tanya Herbert walked into elementary school in Houston, Texas, she towered above every child in the room. By high school, she had reached nearly 6 feet 9 inches. In 2022, Guinness World Records officially measured Tanya's feet. Right foot, 13.3 inches. Left, 12.79 inches. Both larger than most men's size 18 shoes. She became the official world record holder for the largest feet on a living woman. Shoes, something most people spend 30 seconds choosing, were a constant battle. Women's shoes had never fit. Men's shoes were rarely comfortable. Without proper support, blisters developed. Joint problems followed. Doctors confirmed no disease, no gigantism. Tanya was simply naturally built at a scale the world wasn't made for. Instead of hiding, she went public, not for fame, but to force a conversation about designing for people who exist outside the narrow band of what's considered normal. Her feet are a record, but her message is bigger than the measurement. Number 9. Jae Yeon-woo, the bodybuilder who redefined beauty in South Korea. At first glance, she could pass for a doll. Flawless skin, graceful features, the kind of beauty that stops people mid-sentence. But look again, Jin Yeon-woo isn't just beauty, she's power. Arms like steel, shoulders carved from discipline, a physique so commanding it makes even the strongest men second-guess themselves. Born in South Korea in the 1980s, Yeon-woo wasn't raised in the spotlight. She didn't dream of trophies. She wanted to change, physically, completely. Day by day, she trained. Then at 26, curiosity pulled her toward the stage. She entered her first bodybuilding competition, the Korea YMCA in 2010, with no expectations. She won, outshining veterans who thought they had the stage locked down. She disappeared for 2 years, trained harder, returned in 2015 at the Vancouver Pro Women's Physique, then took on the Women's Physique International and the New York Pro. In South Korea, her blend of striking beauty and raw strength made her a sensation, inspiring a generation of women to pick up weights and claim power for themselves. Because Yeon-woo proves something most people never expect. Beauty doesn't always whisper. Sometimes it flexes. Number 8. Didier Montalvo, the turtle boy who shed his shell. Born in a small town in rural Colombia, Didier Montalvo's birth seemed normal. Then his parents saw his back. A massive dark patch of skin covered much of his torso. Thick, layered, spreading as he grew. It looked unmistakably like a shell. Neighbors called him El Niño Tortuga, the turtle boy. In reality, Didier had congenital melanocytic nevi, a rare disorder in which pigment cells overgrow into giant birthmarks. These weren't just cosmetic. Giant nevi carry a serious risk of becoming cancerous. Treatment was out of reach for years. Then international media found him. British surgeon Dr. Neil Bulstrode, a reconstructive specialist at London's Great Ormond Street Hospital, made the decision to travel to Colombia himself. Multiple operations over several years. Sections of the nevi removed. Skin grafted from Didier's own body. Each procedure took a toll, but after the final surgery, the shell was gone. The boy they called Turtle emerged transformed, and a story about what it means when one person crosses an ocean to help. Number 7. Sain Mumtaz. Growing when everyone else has stopped. Most people stop growing in their mid-20s. Their bones set, their dimensions lock in. Sain Mumtaz from Pakistan never got that memo. Diagnosed with Proteus syndrome as a child, a rare genetic disorder that causes abnormal, uncontrolled growth of tissues. Sain's head, hands, and feet have continued growing throughout his life. While the rest of the world stops, parts of his body keep going. The condition has brought enormous physical pain, but the emotional weight is its own category. Isolation, discrimination, the knowledge that close relationships are difficult when the world recoils from what it doesn't understand. Proteus syndrome has no known cure. Treatment focuses on managing symptoms, removing excess tissue, alleviating pain, maintaining what mobility remains. Now, in his mid-30s, San has accepted his condition. He dreams of running a small rickshaw business. He carries it, every day, with a quiet dignity that the world rarely thinks to acknowledge. Number 6. Rudy Santos, the man born with his twin. Born in 1953 in Iligan City, Philippines, Rudy Santos entered the world with something no doctor in his community had ever seen: extra limbs, body parts, and a malformed growth attached to his stomach and pelvis. He was carrying his twin. The condition is called parasitic twinning. What should have become two identical twins failed to separate fully. One twin stopped developing and was absorbed by the other, but their parts remained, attached externally: an extra pair of arms, an extra pair of legs, a malformed shoulder, and pieces of a head-like growth. These weren't functional limbs. They were passengers, draining nutrients and energy from Rudy's body with every passing year. Eventually, he turned to the sideshow circuit. Carnivals across the Philippines, audiences who paid to see him. Posters called him Octoman. By the 1990s, Rudy retired from the shows, but isolation followed. He describes that period as the loneliest of his life. Rudy Santos passed away in April 2022 at the age of 69. He carried his twin from his first breath to his last. Number 5. Yao Defen, the world's tallest woman, and the price she paid. As a teenager, Yao Defen grew so tall that every doorway felt too small, every bed too short, every step heavier than the last. Born in 1972 in a small farming village in Anhui Province, China, the cause was a pituitary tumor, triggering gigantism, an uncontrollable escalation of growth the body cannot stop on its own. By adulthood, Yao had reached 7 feet 8 inches, 350 pounds, men's shoe size 26. Her height brought brief fame, but gigantism is not a gift, it's a siege. The heart works harder, joints wear down, bones ache constantly. Yao suffered chronic headaches, dizziness, and slow deterioration from a tumor left too long before treatment. In 2002, Guinness World Records certified her as the tallest living woman on Earth. By her 40s, the damage was irreversible: heart problems, osteoporosis. In 2012, she collapsed at home. Despite efforts to save her, Yao Defen died at age 40. She was the tallest woman in the world, and the condition that made her that way took everything else. Number 4. Rumeza Gelgi, the world's tallest woman with the world's largest ears. 7.5 feet. That's Rumeza Gelgi's height. When she enters a room, ceilings feel low and furniture shrinks. But height isn't the only record she holds. Her ears, measuring 9.5 centimeters, earned her a second Guinness title, the longest ears on a living person. Born in Turkey with Weaver syndrome, a rare genetic condition that causes accelerated growth and distinct facial features, Rumeza has never blended in. As a child, her size and elongated features made her a target. Instead of letting her difference shrink her, she turned it into a mission. Today, Rumeza is a web developer, a public speaker, and a disability advocate. She relies on a wheelchair for most movement, but pushes forward, always. Even her most unusual feature, and those massive ears, carries a hidden gift: heightened hearing. What some call a flaw, she calls power. Number 3. Wesley Warren Jr., the man who carried 132 pounds. Imagine waking up one morning and discovering that your body is no longer your own. Something is growing, quietly, relentlessly, and it won't stop. Born in Las Vegas in 1963, Wesley was an ordinary man. Then one night in 2008, he rolled over in bed and struck himself in the groin. He expected it to heal. It didn't. Month after month, the swelling grew. By the time Wesley's condition reached its peak, his scrotum weighed 132 pounds. Doctors identified it as scrotal lymphedema. The body's lymphatic drainage system in the groin had failed. Without that drainage, fluid accumulated, tissue expanded, and the growth became self-sustaining. Daily life became a nightmare. Walking short distances left him exhausted. Finding clothing that covered him was a daily humiliation. For years, he couldn't afford the surgery. In 2013, surgeons at the University of California, Irvine, performed a 13-hour operation. They removed approximately 200 pounds of tissue. Wesley woke up transformed. He could walk, stand straight, breathe freely. For the first time in years, he had hope. 1 year after the surgery, Wesley Warren Jr. died at age 49, from complications that his weakened body could no longer survive. He carried something extraordinary, and he did it alone until someone finally helped him set it down. Number 2. T.O. Chico, the man whose eyes pop further than anyone on Earth. Sidney de Carvalho Mesquita from Brazil, known as T.O. Chico, holds the world record for the farthest eyeball pop by a male. His eyes can protrude 18.22 millimeters beyond his eye sockets. That's not a trick. That's a Guinness-verified measurement, confirmed in Sao Paulo in January 2022. Sidney discovered his ability at 9 years old while making faces in front of a mirror. His family worried it was a medical problem. Doctors confirmed it wasn't. It was simply an extraordinary natural talent. The medical term is globe luxation, the temporary protrusion of an eyeball from its socket. Sidney can hold it for 20 to 30 seconds, during which his vision temporarily fades, and a slight burning sensation kicks in as the eyes dry. Outside of his eye-popping performances, Sidney is a drummer, a DJ, an occasional cosplayer, and runs a small burger delivery business called T.O. Chico's Burger. He balances it all with a full-time career in sales and a wife who is his biggest supporter. He calls it a gift, and every audience that's seen it live would be hard-pressed to disagree. Number 1. Pauline Potter, the heaviest woman alive, and the battle that never truly ended. For Pauline Potter, life at over 700 pounds wasn't just difficult. It was a complete disappearance from the world. Born in California in 1963, Pauline grew up with dreams. She married. She had a son named Dylan. She tried, but food had become something else entirely. Not nourishment, a lifeline, an emotional regulator, a way of filling voids that nothing else could touch. By her teenage years, her weight had already exceeded what doctors could ignore, and it kept climbing. By 2011, her weight reached 643 pounds. That year, Guinness World Records named her the world's heaviest living woman. Morbid obesity at that scale isn't simply a matter of willpower. It's a complex disorder shaped by genetics, emotional history, and physical dependency. Food addiction behaves like substance abuse. The compulsions override reason, override fear, override the knowledge of what it's doing. The story that shocked people most: after separating from her husband, they briefly reunited, not for love, but because he fed her. He catered to the addiction, kept bringing the food, and the weight climbed higher. In 2012, Pauline joined TLC's My 600-Pound Life. Under Dr. Yunan Nazaradin, she began the hardest journey of her life, losing enough weight to qualify for surgery. She resisted, she struggled, she started, stopped, and started again. But she kept going. Pauline's story doesn't have a clean ending. It has a continuing one, which is, in its own way, the most honest kind. She was the heaviest woman alive, and she chose to fight back against something most people have never had to understand. 20 people, 20 stories that rewrote what we thought bodies could be. Some were born into it, some had no warning, some were worshipped, some were mocked, some were broken and rebuilt themselves from nothing. But every single one of them had a moment where they had to decide what to do with the body they were given, and none of them gave up. If this video hit differently than you expected, share it. The people in these stories deserve to be seen for more than their difference. We'll see you in the next one.